2024 was actually a pretty good year for gaming if you knew where to look. The fact that my collaboration video with Dorian the Explorian for our top 10 games of the year only had 2 games shared between our lists shows just how many good indie games there were. Even though I didn't get to play as many games as I wanted, I can't help but add more games onto my list to check out, and I wanted to share some of the games I'm most excited about for 2025. Some of these games I've covered in the past, and it's a nice reminder of what's to come, but I made sure to try and diversify as much as possible so that hopefully there's at least 1 or 2 games on this list that should stand out to anyone watching. With that, in order of how hyped I am for the game, let's jump in to see 15 games that I think will be worth checking out when it releases. Starting off this list is a game that will hopefully finally release, and that is the game Replaced. I say that as my very first video I made on this channel was about games from E3 that excited me, and it was on that list. Considering that E3 hasn't existed for a while, it shows just how long it's been, and it was even on GameSpot's most anticipated games for 2024 and beyond. This 2.5D sci-fi action platformer sees you play as an artificial intelligence trapped in a human body against its will. The pixel graphics are stunning and everything about it oozes shades of Blade Runner and Deus Ex. While it is a little disappointing to see this game get pushed back so many times, I do respect the fact that the developers are looking to put forth a product they're truly happy with, and for that, it is something that I will continue to keep on my radar.
A clue, a lead. What more could a mouse detective want?
Another game that seems to have been announced forever ago is Mouse, PI for Hire. This was a game that I felt like no one could escape the hype for. The retro 1930s cartoon black and white inspired graphics mixed with the BioShock approach seems to have faded in many memories, but the team at Fumi Games is looking to bring back the nostalgic yearn that made games like Cuphead so appealing. There isn't a ton known about the actual game besides the fact that the character you play as was once named John Marston, but has since been renamed to Jack Pepper, and it takes more inspiration from BioShock than other FPS games like Doom. It does look like Fumi Games is attempting to specialize in this art style, as there's actually another project in the works called Galaxy Taxi that looks a little more like Cuphead, and I kinda hope they're not juggling too many things at once, but I still do think this is a game that you should watch out for. Coming up next is a game that had a demo that actually surprised me quite a bit, and that is Cairn. The developers at The Game Bakers, who brought you the critically acclaimed game Fury, sought out to make an adventure exploration game revolving around climbing. You play as Ava as she's looking to survive the unforgiving Mount Kami, and it turns out that I have a ton in common with her because I too get exhausted after a small run and feel my life being drained from my body. Trying to put realism at the forefront, you must make careful use of positioning each of your limbs to support your weight lest you take a little tumble off the cliff. The mammoth obstacle before you is something that I believe will impose the ability to reflect on your own life and how the only way to move forward is by going one step at a time, which is why I think people who are looking for a challenging yet somewhat cozy time should be checking this out when it releases. The next game on this list is the tactical hack and slash game Dynasty Warriors Origin. There's a ton to like about this for fans of the series, and I think the team at Omega Force has done a lot to bring more attention to a potential new audience who has somehow missed this almost 30-year-old series. I cover this game with some depth in a recent demo diving video, and you should definitely check it out if you're interested in learning more about it. But it's not hard to want to play a game where your KD can get in the hundreds alongside the challenge of finding where Lu Bu is on the map and doing everything you can to avoid having to face him in combat. Set to release on January 17th, I really wouldn't be surprised if it's considered to be one of the earliest hit games of the year. Next up is the other large game to grace this list, and that is Dune Awakening. This open-world survival MMO set on Arrakis sees you survive the desert by learning the ways of the Fremen. Expand your potential through combat, spice, building, and trade as guild intrigue and warfare rage to control the spice and cling on to power. I'm always looking forward to new survival style games, and as a fan of the Dune series, I'm kind of cautiously hopeful for this release, but with a track record of publishing titles like Conan Exiles and Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden, Funcom will have a lot to live up to given the recent success of the films. If the devs can step up to the plate and not fumble the initial release, I think it has potential to nab some awards, but I do feel like it also has the highest potential to not reach those aspirations. Even so, I still think this is something that should be watched if you enjoy games like Valheim, Enshrouded, or Conan Exiles.
I've always been drawn to mystery and misery, like a duck to water.
Eugene McQuacklin is back for more in Duck Detective: The Ghost of Glamping. I played the first game, and while I 100%ed the game in less than 2 hours, I had a blast in the experience. Solving an array of cases in order to crack the big case is done super well. The voice acting provided adds so much life, and each character feels unique, and it seems like the team at Happy Broccoli Games is looking to bring another short but colorful case to your way. Sometimes the cases were a little more trial and error than deduction, but for the most part it was really enjoyable to discern what was really going on. I do wish that any further adventures by the titular protagonist are set in a larger world where you can kind of travel between towns and solve various cases, or even like in a large town setting like Stardew Valley, but I still look forward to any additional content, and you should too if you aren't opposed to a fun but short adventure. Up next we have a game that's gone through a lot of changes. Once called Hyperspace Pirates of Atria, the newly named Jump Ship is a mission-based co-op PvE action shooter set in a sci-fi setting. Team up with 3 buddies as you crew a spaceship and power through engagements both on foot and in space. Working together will be key to make sure your ship stays in one piece. This looks like it'll be a fun one for anyone who enjoys games like Deep Rock Galactic, because although there's a ton of differences, at the core of the game is kind of this crew-like system, although there really won't be dedicated roles like there is in Deep Rock Galactic. There hasn't been a lot of updates on this on when to expect it, but it is known that it'll be releasing to early access sometime in 2025. So if you're alright with having to push through some potential early access bugs, then make sure to check it out when it releases. Alright, now we are really at the point in this list where I feel confident in saying that the rest of these games will most likely be must-buys if you're interested in the genres. Up first is Shadow of the Road. This CRPG, set in a strange feudal Japan that has clashed with futuristic technology and magic, sees you assembling a team of diverse characters to take on yokai and steampunk contraptions. Being published by the same team that brought you Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader and Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, the developers at Another Angle Games will surely be shown the way to create a great story and engaging combat system alongside a unique setting that will make you want to keep coming back for more. A surprise announcement at the Game of the Year Awards brings us to the next game on this list, and that is Split Fiction. From the team that brought you the 2021 Game of the Year winner, It Takes Two, comes the latest game about cooperation and synergizing with a friend in order to survive puzzles, face foes, and overcome obstacles. I will say that this style of asymmetric co-op is rapidly becoming one of my favorite genres, as it really does well to cohesively make the players need one another in order to progress, which I personally think is a fantastic approach to game design. I was happy to see It Takes Two win the Game of the Year award, and while I believe that it was a great game, I think it was a little helped at the awards by a less than star-studded roster of choices. I don't personally think Split Fiction will reach the heights of It Takes Two, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be excited to give this a go when it releases on March 6th of 2025. Now I feel like I've been learning a harsh lesson for kickstarting so many games, but one I don't regret backing is the upcoming Mariachi Legends. This Metroidvania set in the heart of Mexico sees you play as Pablo Cruz, a detective who made a deal with death herself that allows him to transform into the mighty La Sombra. Using his newfound powers, he looks to fight back against evil, and this entire experience is brought to you through a very stunning pixel art style. There's even a day, night, and full moon system that changes the going-ons at different locations, making you need to manage when you revisit locations when you inevitably gain new abilities. I've been stoked for this game, as I'm a huge fan of the Guacamelee series, and while this looks to lean more into the Castlevania style of gameplay, I think it'll be a surprise hit for the year when it releases, so be sure to check it out if you're interested. Up next is a zombie first-person shooter, Killing Floor 3. I'll be honest in saying the only reason why I even gave this series a chance was because the second game was free on PlayStation 4 once. Since then I have put a ton of hours into the work Tripwire has done, and I can honestly say it's a blast, even if you end up playing with randoms. I expect the same style of gameplay, but just more in terms of new levels, bosses, maybe a few new enemies, and even maybe a few new classes, but they add so much free content that while there is DLC on offer, you don't actually have to get it in order to sink a ton of hours into it, especially if they continue to add the Versus mode, allowing you to play as the Zeds and the humans in alternating rounds. There really isn't much else to say other than give this a shot if you really want to have a blast with some friends. As always on this channel, no list of games is complete without at least one deck building game, and the first of 3 to make it on here is actually the game Deck.RX, the deck building racing game. I've covered this game in a few ways, whether that be my short series that I may or may not continue, or the 13 new and upcoming roguelike deck builders video I made. I am genuinely super stoked to get back on the racetrack and use these cards to turn myself into a speedster or even just a brute whose only life goal is to win by taking out all my opponents. There's a lot to like, and the developers even hinted at the prospect of custom levels, which I think will bring even more fun and replayability to the forefront. The fluidity that comes from playing these cards to race really is engaging, and I'm always on the lookout for something unique to the genre, so if you want to check it out, head on over and try the demo and see why I'm so hyped for it.
Let's play some Battle Train!
Back-to-back roguelike deck builders on a list should also not be a surprise to anyone, because the next game on this list is Battle Train. Another game that I've covered a couple times on this channel, this game sees you playing as a contestant on a game show where your goal is to build tracks to enemy bases and then send a train into them that explodes. The main reason why I'm actually excited for this game is the characters and the story beats that occur during the runs. Each character is unique and full of life, which makes me feel more immersed into thinking I'm a part of this weird world where trains are just casually used as weapons. The wackiness and pure uniqueness of this game is something that I really think makes Battle Train stand on its own, and that's why it's so high on this list. So be sure to check it out because there's definitely something here for everyone. Up next is a game that received a rare 10 out of 10 in my demo diving series, and that is Dice Gambit. This turn-based strategy game sees you controlling and growing your family in order to assist the almost mob-like families that run a city infested with chromatic monsters. Each family member has their strengths and weaknesses, but it's up to you to balance them out and make the most of their unique abilities. If you want to see more in-depth analysis of this, check out the video I made on the demo, and be sure to give the demo a go as well, as there's plenty of things to do that will keep you excited for the full release in Q2 of 2025.
Our great city of Neotalis, like a queen, she is mighty, enlightened, and full of secrets. If you want to succeed in the city, best you attain these virtues too.
On the floor lies a tome covered in blood, titled Top Ways to Conquer the Spire. You find this manuscript highly suspicious because it's covered in blood.
The last roguelike deck builder is one that many have been waiting for, and that is the sequel to what many consider is the best in its genre. Slay the Spire 2 looks to bring you a semi-new experience in a different package. Being powered by the Godot engine, you set out to climb the spire and conquer new foes, with 2 confirmed returning heroes in the Ironclad and the Silent, and 1 new hero called the Necrobinder. I'm a little disappointed in seeing no indication on whether or not the Defect or the Watcher are returning, and I also see a lot of the same relics and cards, but given that I've already put 200 hours in the original, it's going to be an easy decision to grab this the moment it releases into early access in 2025. In my top 10 games of 2024, I ended up actually giving the #1 spot to Indica, mostly because of the unique approach it took, and the publisher is looking to bring another unique experience in my most anticipated game of 2025. The Altars is pure sci-fi bliss as you play as Jan Dolsky on a mission gone wrong. You are tasked with trying to get your base moving lest you be destroyed by the oncoming sun rays, but the issue is you only really know what you know, which seems weird to say, but thanks to a machine you can create a clone of yourself who made a different decision in your life that had a massive influence on who you became. These clones have their own personalities, quirks, and expertise that you need to work with in order to survive. I feel like this game isn't getting nearly enough attention, but I have a suspicion that it will be one of the best ways to start off the year when it releases in Q1 of 2025.
My name is Jan, and I just want my life back. Yeah? Which one?
So that was my list of upcoming games I think will be worth checking out. Did any of these stick out to you, or were there any others that you're actually excited about? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll be looking to add more to my wish list as I'm pretty optimistic about the upcoming gaming year. But that'll be it for this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, be kind to one another. Shoutouts go to Relativity, Naughty Dog is King, Chaos, and Kamikalo, alongside all those sub to the channel. I got deep dives, countdowns, and of course, more demo diving planned for the upcoming year. It has been a blast, and I'm excited to continue to grow and improve with everyone who watches. Stay tuned for the next video, and I will see you soon.